This Black History Month, we're highlighting the history makers that are right here at home. And this morning, that spotlight is on Rock Hill. Now, on this day, February 12th, back in 1960, historians estimate about 150 people peacefully protested at this Rock Hill store and lunch counter. Now, their sit-in sparked a number of protests, the most famous of which took place the next year. Now, that 1961 sit-in was held by a group of men that are now known as the Friendship Nine. It's why we're taking you to the building that is still standing there, as you can see today, to hear from one of the Friendship Nine members himself.
We came to be arrested.
David Williamson Jr. sat in this same chair more than 60 years ago. He's part of the Friendship Nine, a group of black students mostly from Friendship Junior College who sat down at McRory's Five and Dime. It was a store and all-white lunch counter in Rock Hill. Now that restaurant is called Counter. That's where you'd find Williamson recounting the sit-ins that put him and his friends behind bars.
Like you sit down like this, and by the time she got the words out, you was up, and the officers had drug you off the stool. They didn't get to the part that we wasn't going to get out. They just told us we was going to jail.
The group was convicted of trespassing, but instead of spending $100 to get out of jail time, they opted to spend 30 days of hard labor on what was called the Chain Gang.
Now that history is mapped out across these walls, this museum documents the 30 days that Williamson and the rest of the Friendship Nine spent in jail. Those 30 days sparked a nationwide movement.
You're able to break the system if you break their pockets.
Dontavius Williams is a Rock Hill historian who also works at the historically black Clinton College. He says while the first sit-in protesters would keep paying bail, the Friendship Nine started the Jail No Bail movement. Doing the time rather than paying the bail meant keeping money out of the criminal justice system.
And you have to feed, you have to clothe, you have to house all of these people, and ultimately, it was a form of non-violent resistance.
We have the original footrail that the guys had their feet on that day, the original bar stools. We've got coffee stains.
Rob Masson is Counter's owner. When he reopened the restaurant back in 2020, he restored the same counter that the Friendship Nine sat at decades ago. It's why Masson says he and his staff try to tell customers the story behind these stools.
And that's what's mesmerizing about it. It really wasn't that long ago.
Which brings us to today. Williamson says even decades past the civil rights movement,
it don't look that much different.
But he's not without hope for the future, adding this is what it takes if the country wants change.
Until we get back where there's more love and more respect for one another, this country gonna destroy itself from within, you know.
Now, the Friendship Nine were exonerated back in 2015. But when I asked Williamson about it, he said something interesting. He said wiping his record clear was almost like taking his badge away. Because even though protesting was treated like it was a crime, he says his actions caused the kind of disruption that was necessary for equality.